She's been 3 days flat.
Again? Is it her back or her head?
Can we see?
Sure is. To the doctor. That's why I got in.
Doctor, she had that bronchitis and everything?
No, it's the back.
This is her back.
There we are.
There you are.
Here we are.
Okay.
Hi.
You can't release that picture and show it to anyone unless we all sign off.
I know. I know. Okay. Throughout the years, many Americans have taken advantage of their personal health. My story, although out of my control, has taken quite the toll on my life. As a victim of secondhand smoke since the day I was born, I have suffered from asthma since I was 4. I am here to share with you all the many reasons why smoking cigarettes should be banned. Having family friends who have died of lung cancer, and as a sufferer of secondhand smoke myself, I feel as if this topic is very crucial and one that all Americans should be aware of. Today I will inform you about the history of smoking and present facts about smokers and secondhand smoking in hopes that you all will see changes definitely need to be made. Did you know that in just one cigarette there are up to 11 cancer-causing agents? Due to this statistic, along with many others, is why smoking cigarettes should be made illegal. The history of smoking cigarettes dates back to the 16th century. Native Americans cultivated the tobacco plant and smoked it in pipes solely for medical and ceremonial purposes. In the mid-16th century, Christopher Columbus brought the tobacco leaves to Europe. This is when France's diplomat, Jean Nicot, made the plant popular. This is where the name nicotine also comes from. Englishman John Russell arrived in Virginia in 1612. This is when and where the first tobacco plant was raised and used for commercial use. Throughout the 17th and 18th centuries, smoking tobacco would become the colony's largest export, as well as the cash crop of the South. During the colonial period, commercial production centered in northern port cities, says CivilWarHome.com. As a result of the surplus of slave labor and the large supply of raw material, commercial manufacturing shifted to the South. Virginia dominated with factories in Richmond, Petersburg, and Danville. Until 1833, tax on tobacco accounted for 1/3 of the internal revenue collected in the United States, says CivilWarHome.com. The Civil War disrupted the South's tobacco growing and manufacturing. In March 1862, Confederate Congress passed a joint resolution stating that the Confederate States refrained from planting tobacco. Union control of Mississippi, along with the naval blockades, restricted the export of tobacco products. After the Civil War, sales began to reappear in the 1880s, with the introduction of the white burley, which was a type of tobacco leaf. Invention of the first cigarette-making machine was also created. The negative health effects of tobacco were unknown to many, as it was prescribed by European physicians as medicine over centuries. Little did they know that today, 1 in 10 Americans would die from smoking-related causes. The health effects that began to surface by the 19th century started in 1938. Dr. Raymond Pearl of Johns Hopkins University found that cigarette smokers do not live as long as non-cigarette smokers. In 1944, the American Cancer Society began warning about possible negative effects of smoking, which could lead to lung cancer. And in 1952, the Reader's Digest came out with an article called Cancer by the Carton. This article dealt with the dangers of smoking and had a great effect on the public. Similar reports began to appear, and the public actually started to take notice. That year, cigarette sales declined. Today, 34% of the population still smokes. That is approximately 1/3 of our male population. According to SmokingGov.com, every time you smoke a cigarette, 5 minutes of your life is taken off. This is approximately the same amount of time it takes to smoke 1 cigarette. Smoking is the largest preventable cause of death in the United States today. Negative effects of smoking result in lung disease, heart disease, and various types of cancer of the lung, mouth, and throat. There are over 4,000 carcinogenic in cigarette smoking, which include carbon monoxide and arsenic. which is why it is crucial that we all recognize that smoking is not only affecting the smoker, but affecting the people around the smoker. I can speak firsthand about secondhand smoke, as I am a victim of it. My father was a cigarette smoker for over 40 years. When I was 4, I was diagnosed with asthma, which has been hard for me to cope with because it is hard for me to accomplish intense exercise without my inhaler. According to cdc.gov, children who have parents who smoke are being deprived of a healthy upbringing. Children are suffering from respiratory infections, great risks of SIDS, and asthma attacks. Non-cigarette smokers exposed to secondhand smoke have a greater risk of lung cancer, 20 to 30%. Secondhand smoke causes 3,400 lung cancer deaths annually to adults exposed. Suffering from secondhand smoke myself, I want to put an end to the harm so that young children of generations to come will not have to have the same outcome that I have as a young adult. So just how will we make cigarettes illegal in the United States? In recent efforts, groups in Congress have been trying to make smoking illegal for years. Speaker of the House, John Vinhar, is an avid cigarette smoker. Due to this, the policy has a chance to be changed, but the Speaker has put strains on the process. Smoking has made up a large part of the U.S. economy for years, which is a downside. CNN states that the ban of smoking would heavily impact our economy because much of the population is reliant on tobacco production. Today, according to recent Gallup poll, more than half of the U.S. population supports a ban on smoking. An additional 20% agree that further restrictions need to be made. Just as I am sure you have been at one point in your life, on a daily basis, more and more people are being affected by smoking, and the policy needs to be changed. Smoking cigarettes is a terrible and life-threatening habit that needs to be restrained because it is not only affecting the smokers themselves, but is affecting the young people around them. For over a year now, Congress has been making serious efforts when it comes to putting a ban on smoking. Here in Lawrence, small strides such as ban of cigarettes at restaurants and in public are being made. But until cigarettes are completely made legal, it is up to the people to make a conscious decision to not smoke. You know the facts, so how will you make them known in order for our nation to be a healthier living environment? And here I have a photo of a healthy human lung in comparison to a tobacco smoker's lung. And then here is just a very standard graph that shows how the risk is increasing with the years when it comes to smoking cigarettes. And it is increasing, which is why there needs to be a stop put to smoking cigarettes.
I think it's got a good cause.
Thank you.
You got a great father. Your kid is not so good.